A very good evening to all of you. And I bring greetings from Shillong. First and foremost, I would like to thank Swamiji and the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. So the title of my paper that I'll be presenting this evening is Interdependence Ethic, a Way to Conflict Resolution. So the world is currently facing an unprecedented uncertainty which gives rise to various conflicts and crises. It is not surprising that the present century has often been referred to at different times by different writers as being an age of extremes, a century of illusions and disillusionments. So extensive and far-reaching are these conflicting problems that the future well-being of humanity is in jeopardy. These conflicts, they act as barriers and create differences among people. Researchers have considered conflicts at different levels of analysis, ranging from interpersonal conflicts involving many people to intrapersonal conflicts involving only the individual. So amidst these various conflicts, which the previous speaker, Professor Paneer Selvam, has elaborately stated, and the differences that are among the people, this has led the people to start questioning their position in society. And these questions ultimately, they led to the question about the meaning and the role of justice. What is justice? This is an age-old question that has been asked for centuries. The fact that this question is still being asked even today shows that we are still unclear about the meaning of the concept of justice. According to some writers, justice has always been regarded as a political virtue. As a virtue, it is understood that justice is concerned with individuals living in a society. The concern is, however, a restricted kind of concern. Justice, it looks towards the individual with a dispassionate gaze. It sees the individual not as an individual itself with its various aspirations, idiosyncrasies, and weaknesses associated with it. The individual is viewed in relations to other individual in the society. In this way, we can say that justice is a neutral virtue. However, it is the universal attributes possessed by the members of the society that is of core importance to justice because they form the ground of a rational judgment. It should also be noted that although justice is concerned with the individuals in the society, it is only concerned with the individual past and present. Justice is not at all concerned with the individual future because the future is open. Thus, justice implies that people should be treated in a non-arbitrary manner where there is the consistency. So far, we have been looking at a very individualistic perspective of justice, that is justice strictly from the point of view of the individual itself. However, it only seems logical that if we are to have a comprehensive understanding of justice, it has to be understood from an all-inclusive point of view. In this way, the concept of social justice comes into view. Social justice is concerned not only with the individual alone, but with the whole society. Social justice includes not only the interaction among the different individuals, but also the relationship of the individuals to their surrounding. Given the current social situation, the task of social justice is indeed challenging and complex. We live in a globalized world where there are different cultures intersecting and mingled with each other. In such a multicultural and globalized world, the individual must be covertly or overtly engaging in processes that affect our social world, and these interactions will ultimately affect our understanding of justice. Differences in cultures are being expressed through language, religion, cuisine, family structures, lifestyle, and attire. These differences in the society, they can form the basis for deep psychological distrust or enmity. Again, these cultural differences constrain effective communication, leading to international misunderstanding and violence. So amidst these changes, these differences and these changes, a single conception or practice of justice representing all the stages of history or all the forms of society is not possible. So theorists included these differences or the different issues in social justice. This is done with the hope that the study of these developments will lead to a more complete understanding of our current notions of justice. One of the most important issues that has been highlighted by recent theorists, which has been included in any discussion in justice, is environmental justice or environmentalism. Human beings have always had a very close relationship to environment, but this relation has been taken for granted in today's world. However, a closer look reveals that there are still numerous indigenous societies around the world and in India itself that still shares an intimate relation with nature. In such a situation, our understanding of social justice must also include the understanding of the forms of justice among these various indigenous groups. Coming up with an understanding of justice or social justice that includes the various views of these different groups will not be easy. But nonetheless, it is a task worthy to undertake. The fact that the concept of justice has always enticed human minds from antiquity to the present times cannot be denied. So therefore, apart from the seemingly differences that exist, there ought to be some similarity or a common foothold somewhere. In order to determine this common foothold, I intend to look into the history of the concept of justice, from the classic theories to the views of some of the indigenous groups, and determine the common aspect that form the background in all these different theories. So Aristotle, in his fifth book of the Nicomachean Ethics, he evaluates the notion of justice as virtue. According to Aristotle, justice as virtue can be a complete virtue or a partial virtue. Justice as complete virtue is called by him the legal or the universal justice, and justice as partial virtue is called particular justice. Under the notion of particular justice, Aristotle, he makes the famous and the important distinction between distributive justice and the corrective justice. A few centuries later, John Rawls, in his article Justice as Fairness, Political, Not Metaphysical, put forward his own understanding of the concept of justice as a political concept for a democratic society. According to Rawls, the conflicting disagreement that exists in the present scenario prevents a person from realizing the values of liberty and equality in the basic structure of society. The aim of justice as fairness is very practical, for it represents itself as something that can serve as a basis of informed and willingly political agreement between the citizens who are viewed as free and equal persons. For Rawls, the idea of a society as a system of fair social cooperation between the free and equal persons is considered to be an essential idea. Hence, the idea of social cooperation plays an important part in the theory of Rawls. Coming to Indian subcontinent thought, we see that the concept of justice is closely related to the law of karma, which is derived from the Vedic law of Vrita. According to the law of karma, every action performed by an individual has a consequence corresponding to it, which can be pleasurable or painful depending on the action's merit or demerit which its doers must endure or suffer. This consequence is neither arbitrary nor accidental because it is what the doer deserves to experience on account of having performed the action. The world is of this nature because it is governed by the law of karma, which ensures that nobody escapes from experiencing the consequences of one's action. This worldview functions as the foundation, the general theoretical background of the entire Indian philosophy. The law of karma is seen as the application of the law of Vrita in the human world. The word Vrita, it means complete order or orderliness, regularity or uniformity in nature, which even gods are not allowed to disturb. Thus it is unbreakable. The gods are looked upon as the guardians or the protectors of the law of Vrita. The law of Vrita certifies that the world is not haphazard but uniform. Considering these aspects of the law of Vrita, it may be called a cosmic law. As an application of the law of Vrita, the law of karma, it operates in the realm of human actions in such a comprehensive way that whenever a person is or has is determined by it. So in this way, this world can be looked at as a karmic world. The Khasis, an indigenous group of people found in the northeastern part of India, like the other indigenous communities, have a very close relationship with nature. So it is here that a worldview which is based on the old-fashioned way of life is found. It is this close communion with the nature that the Khasis enable, it is this close communion with nature that enables a Khasi to understand the surrounding natural world. Every aspect of nature is equally valuable to a Khasi. Humans do not occupy any special position in the Khasi belief, but are considered to be part and parcel of one creation. The fact that animals and birds are part of the human community has been reflected in most of the folklores of the Khasis. Thus, when it comes to the question of justice, a Khasi is always of the opinion that human cannot decide on the justice of another human, or for that matter, on the justice of animals and plants. The Khasi worldview has always been grounded on the principle of interdependence among all the coexistence of the world. Interdependence among all the coexistence of the world. Eventually, therefore, any plea on justice must be made to a higher authority, that is Kahok, which is truth. Kahok for a Khasi is an eternal truth, which has no beginning or end. According to the Khasi, Kahok encompasses the whole existence and it is connected to human through Kakren, or the spoken word. Kakren is speech or communication in the collective conscience among the Khasis. It is a language understood by all the coexistence which is necessarily not verbal or vocal. It is through Kakren that the individual person relates itself to its surrounding world. In this way, the individual, through communication, will connect or link itself to Ublay, who's God, and also to the other coexistence in the world. Consequently, through communication, the individual will establish Jutang, or the covenant, with God as well as with the other coexistence in the world. Jutang for the Khasi is very sacred because it is bound on the foundation of Kahok, and therefore it is considered a sanctified conviction or commitment established between two parties. For the Khasi, the sanctity of the Jutang is established on Kakrend, which is grounded on Kahok. For a Khasi, he lives amidst various Jutang. Like any other covenant, the Jutangs, they also have witnesses. The nature of the Maryang is considered to be the witness or the witnesses of the various Jutangs that are made between the nature, and because nature has always been considered as a living document for the Khasis. Since Jutang are established on the basis of Kahok, the Khasi forefathers warned the fellow beings to take Jutang seriously. Once a Jutang is made, it is very difficult to break without any fatal consequences. According to a Khasi, justice will come into play whenever there's a breach of the Jutang. Justice will be taken care at any time and at any place, and there is no need for the victim to appeal for justice to the other humans. The party that disrespects the Jutang will be punished by being struck to death by lightning or killed by a tiger or by other wild animals at unexpected time or place. For instance, whenever there is a land dispute with regard to the boundary, the victim will plead to the divinity as a judge and call upon the witness or the witnesses of the Jutang, which is the nature, to restore the balance and settle the dispute. The verdict to such an appeal will come from nature itself. This is the law of the Khasi, Kahok, that surrounds nature is the living law and judge that will decide the fate of all the people, animals, demigods, and even the evil in this world. A close analysis of all the above mentioned theories reveal that there is an element of interdependence that lingers in the background of any theory on justice. That is, any theory of justice will touch upon the element of interdependence. When Aristotle, he talks about the distributive justice and corrective justice, this does not imply only to the justice with regards to human beings. As a matter of fact, it is often considered by many thinkers that distributive justice includes environmental justice. Environment is generally regarded as a resource whose distribution should be governed by the principle of justice. That is, distribution of the benefits and the cost of environmental resources should be governed by principles of justice because many aspects of environment cannot be physically transferred from one community to another. In John Rawls' Justice as Fairness, this element of interdependence can be seen in his idea of social cooperation.
According to Rawls, social cooperation is a concept that cannot be understood narrowly, but rather as a conception of what is valuable in human life. Unlike the Western worldview that separates nature from human, the Eastern worldviews, like the law of karma and the Kasi worldviews, reject such dualism and stress on the fact that there is no radical separation between humans from the other forms of life on earth. In fact, the world is being viewed as the body of God. The law of karma binds humans into continuity with natural resources. While human freedom is emphasized, it is a freedom constrained with moral responsibility to the surrounding environment with which each of us is intimately interconnected. According to the Kasi worldview, as mentioned, the element of interdependence has been expressed in the Jutang, which are sacred and are not to be taken for granted. Whenever these jutang are disrespect, the justice inflicted out is the verdict of the universe as a whole. In conclusion, it may be observed that in the present scenario, degradation of the environment, be it in the political, social, and physical fronts, has assumed a global dimension. For centuries, modern man went on destroying the planet in the name of progress, success, and economic development. Now we witness how this progress has not just depleted human inwardly, but spiritually. There is chaos and confusion everywhere we turn, in the different countries, the societies, the cultures, the religious beliefs, the practices, and even within oneself. In fact, our present situation, where the entire world is facing the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic, has made matters even worse. Principles, objectives, institutions which were generally accepted even a generation ago are now challenged. Social suspicion, tension fills the atmosphere in place of mutual love and friendliness and sympathy. The whole world is driven by mutual distrust, jealousy, fear, and suspicions. Poverty, violence, intolerance are the order of the day and are on the increase. Thus, the contemporary society is a complex and broken up society, a society which lacks a sense of basic consensus. In such a situation where every individual and group are questioning their justice, the only way we can find a resolution is to go back to the ancient wisdoms. As we have seen above, all the theories they stress on interdependence. And once we realize this, the existing differences can never play an important role in our lives. Hence, the need of the hour is to realize that only the feeling of oneness can hold everything together. Eventually, therefore, the concept of interdependence is the heart of justice. The main aim of the various theories of justice is to remove whatever chaos and confusion by accentuating the fact that we are all dependent on one another. Now, more than ever, we need to realize that we are interdependent on one another. This simple realization can actually solve the big problems that the world is presently facing. Change is inevitable, and everything changes all the time. Even our understanding of justice will change with time. The fact that we have various theories on justice substantiates this. Yet a closer look indicates that though prima facie they may seem different from one another, yet they are all connected by the element of interdependence. To end in the words of our father of nations, Mahatma Gandhi, whose birthday we are celebrating today, interdependence is and ought to be as much the ideal of man as self-sufficiency. Man is a social being. Thank you.